Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Youthful and Useful podcast. And I'm excited to be speaking with Katherine, Busari and Ebuka Ukunda. My question to them would just be, how has the YDS season been? And what have you been up to? What's YDS and why are we even doing all of this? So you know what? Come with me and let's have this conversation together. So I have with me today Katherine Busari and Ebuka Ukunda. They've been leading the YDS campaign 2023 and I'd just like you to meet them. Hi Katherine. Please would you introduce yourself?
My name is Katherine Busari and I drive the Youthful Service. Been doing this for 2 years and I'm passionate about the rights, the wrongs and the wins of young people across Africa. And I do this because I believe that young people have the most to gain if the SDGs do not fail, if the SDGs succeed. Because the SDGs not failing or the SDGs failing have quite a lot of things to do with the lives of young people in Africa. Think about all of the SDGs, start from 1 down to 17. Think about gender equality, think about education, poverty. Think about the access to decent work and economic growth. And then you just think about the fact that as a young person, you need all of these things to work for you to have a sustainable future.
Definitely.
So yes, that's who I am.
So I hear you, Katherine, and I think I want to agree that the SDGs cannot fail, not on the watch of young people. Hi, Ebuka. Thank you for coming to our table of discussion today. So would you like to tell us anything about yourself?
Oh, yeah. My name is Ebuka Ukunda, and I work alongside Katherine in driving this very big program called the Youthful Service. It's actually a 21-day program ensuring that across Africa, we're raising, voices and raising, the voices and the hands of African youths, to go out into the community to do great work. I think based on what Katherine was saying, talking about, the failure or the success of the SDGs, for me, I think what really drives me in this project is the urgency. And I didn't realize until early this year, and Katherine was talking about the fact that we are exactly 7.5, we're at the halfway point. I would like to say the last mile of the SDG. So I think that's literally what was a fuel for me this year for the Youth Service project. Yeah.
Ebuka, so I hear you talk about the urgency and I hear you talk about the success and failure and young people being involved. So I'll ask you, Katherine, what's the Youth Service and what is the focus for the Youth Service campaign 2023? I'm privy to know that we've done this before and this is not our first time. So what's actually our 2023 focus?
All right. So the Youth Service really is leadership in action. It was born out of the fact that we understood that after COVID happened, there was a lot of gaps that were highlighted based on the accomplishment of the Sustainable Development Goals. And for Africa, which is a very youthful population, it just made sense that we were activating the energy, the creativity, and the voices of its greatest resource, which is the youth, if you agree with me, to lead action in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So for us at Leap for Africa, it's about understanding that if we're going to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, it has to be from the people that are most affected by it. And if you're trying to solve any problem or find the best solution to any problem, you're looking at the person that's most affected because they're the most motivated to really then achieve those goals. So for us, it's really about educating young people first, helping them understand what the SDGs are, because it's a buzzword. People just say, SDGs and nobody really understand what they're about. So they're goals, yes, but they have targets and setting indicators that let you know when the targets are met. So for us, it's about educating young people first and helping them understand what the goals are and what their role is in achieving that. On the flip side of it also, we're also focused on resourcing young people. So we know that now you know what to do, you know how to engage, but how then can we support you? And when I say resource, I don't just mean money.
Yeah.
I mean, we have toolkits that are translated in 4 languages: Swahili, Portuguese, English, French. Just make sure that the Pan-Africanness of the Youth Service really is present. And also, there's a bit of a message around it for us. So for us, with our tagline, Youthful and Useful, it's really bringing back that narrative to say that young people are useful. We're youthful, we're organized, but we're also useful in bringing about solutions to the problems that we see in our communities. So the Youth Service really seeks to connect young people that are passionate about change to resources that help them to understand how to drive change in their communities. We're also funding their initiatives and helping them really scale and sustain the initiatives that they decided to build. And even for first-time volunteers that just are learning how to engage, you can jump on a project that someone in your location is already solving. And I always like to tease out the fact that the UDF is about unity. So it goes away from just like specific locations to saying, how can we as Africans work together on the Youth Day of Service? So it's our collective. It's not just about one person in the community thinking about one problem. It's young people across Africa for a month from the 12th to the 31st of August, bringing different parts of themselves, their hearts, their hands, their heart to driving change and also to implementing sustainable development goals in Africa. So that's really what we do.
Amazing. So I hear you say young people, and I understand that these are very interesting demographics, very interesting people, diverse interests, diverse energy, diverse interest exactly. But so I'd like to know, what has the engagement been so far, and how are they responding to the fact that you are trying to bring them to consciousness that there is a need, there is an urgency in Africa? How are they responding to that this year?
Beautiful question, by the way, and I think it's so important. We had very audacious goals this year, to have a lot of volunteers and have a lot of project leaders. And we're actually almost at our target for the year. This year alone, compared to last year, we've had close to 1,500 projects which have been registered. Compared to just 210 projects of last year, that's more than an almost 500% increase. This year, we already have close to 3,500 volunteers from more than 36 African countries compared to what we had last year. And I think it just shows, the energy, the youthfulness of African youths across board. And the most exciting thing about the statistics is that we also have more women and girls who are excited and who are, part of the project and the project we are doing across Africa. So we have 49% of women, who are taking on the project leads or becoming volunteers. And then a statistic that will get you very excited that we have about 3% of people who are, people living with disabilities. As an inclusive organization, an inclusive campaign, it's very important that we're driving an inclusive notion. So with the whole idea of the SDGs that we leave no one behind, which means that even people who are blind or have hearing impairment or, whatever they have, whatever struggles they are, we're currently facing, we are actually saying, see, forget about the struggles. You are also part of ensuring that we actualize and we implement the SDGs here in Africa.
I'm actually very excited. I like the idea of the inclusion. And here, a big shout out to every woman out there, African woman who has registered a project or volunteered for a project. You are a real hero. And we're here rooting for you. And thank you. So let's come back to the SDG in Africa. We're on our road to 2030. What's the progress so far in Africa? Are we 50%? 30, 10, or do we start this all over again?
So I would say no, we're way behind on the actualization of the SDGs. Think back to 2019 when there was a report that said, Africa was halfway towards achieving the SDGs and we're all very joyful. And then COVID happened and a lot of caps were lighted and we saw that we were nowhere near that. In fact, we're now dragging behind when it comes to achieving the SDGs on the continent. And if you think through or you look through the different lenses and the goals that we have, you think about education, for example, where while some parts of Africa are doing well with their literacy rates, we still have a lot of sub-Saharan Africa still struggling when it comes to learning poverty with young people. And then you start to wonder, these are young people that we see are leaders of tomorrow or presidents
When is tomorrow
that will champion the SDGs. Think about climate change. Apart from countries like Kenya or that has a policy where they're trying to increase their tree cover by 30% by 2050. I mean, they had a goal by 2020 to have a 10% tree cover. Now they have 8.3%. And in 2022, President Uhuru was like, we've done this. We can do more. And then he started the Tree Growing Fund and the campaign where young people are resourced to plant trees. And now they have a target of 15 billion trees. And if you've been to Nairobi, which we were just a few weeks ago, you see there's a very sustainable city, no single-use plastics. If you want bags in supermarkets, you have to pay for that. You can easily see the recycle culture. On a Youth Day of Service project that we had with Child Fund, we saw young children, I'm talking about 5-year-olds that were playing football for the program, going around picking plastics and having a race on who was going to get the most plastic to go recycle.
Channeling their playfulness into something very sustainable.
Right? So it's a way of life, really, when you think about it. But that's just in Kenya. You think about all the other parts of Africa and how we're way behind on achieving a lot of the goals. And then you start to wonder, is 2030 really possible anymore? But I will come to that and see what's possible and how 2030 can be achieved.
Yeah. So I mean, sometimes we do so much, but we sometimes want to focus on the fact that we're not there yet. But we've actually made progress. We're actually doing so much. Kenya is an inspiration. So many Nigerians are doing so many things in different tiny bits. So I just want us to maybe take a pause. Breathe in, say well done. So
well done.
Yes, I'll say well done, Ebuka, and well done, Katherine, and then well done to you. Also for doing such an amazing work in driving us towards our 2030 goal. So I want us to even make the well done even more exciting by even sharing what's a success story so far. What's one of the things that anyone has done, any organization has done that has made us feel elated that, oh, we're there, or this challenge is going to be closed up in a few more years, or putting in a little bit more effort. So let's just make this a little bit more about the happy moment. So let's hit on the happy moment now.
Okay, I think I'll give one, then Katherine can give one to make it more robust.
All right, sure.
And for me, I'm very passionate about climate change because I think it's very important for us. Climate change, climate poverty, and climate and all of that. And there's this organization we sponsor. It's called Reswaye, led by a fantastic young lady called Ioka. And for the last 3 years, she's been partnering with us for the Youth Day of Service. And this year, she's doing something that is really big. She's planting 300 trees. And she's planting 300 trees across 2 locations. And 300 trees might seem very small, but the amount of carbon, the carbon emission that trees are able to take in from the environment is really, it's commendable indeed.
Yeah.
And when you talk about someone like going out of our way, getting volunteers, young boys and young women, to come together to plant trees. But she's not just planting random trees; she's planting these trees which are, designed and specifically, to curb erosion in the beach. To these trees are not going to be invasive trees whereby they just grow anyhow. These trees are proper trees, properly planted in the proper environment. She's actually planting these trees in secondary schools here in Lagos, Nigeria. So actually she's doing 2 things. She's actually beautifying the trees and creating a conducive education
and a sustainable environment
for the teenagers in the school. So I think it's such a very, very big deal for me.
You see, I mean, I knew that there was something even more exciting about our actions.
And you've not even heard anything yet. You need to hear what you're about.
Okay, so you guys, you know what? I'm just going to take a deep breath and then let's go to Katherine and let Katherine blow our mind.
So I think I'll write off of what he said and just spotlight something very quickly before I talk about my project. Well, last year in the Lagos team at Leap Africa, we converted a waste dump into a food park. And
very, very important.
Yeah, very important.
And her beautiful flowers, by the way. So
Beautiful.
I mean, you need to go there and see that you have yellow flowers, red flowers, green flowers, and those kind of things you see in movies is actually here in Lagos. And this is just taking a moment to say a big shout out to every leaper. You did such an amazing work last year, and you know what? We can't wait to see the result of what we did again this year. So, Katherine.
Thank you. And I think one more exciting thing for me will be work with Akakoro Kenya. It's a football club in Nairobi. And what they're doing is doing something exciting where they're going beyond the typical projects that everyone would do. So they're doing an initiative called Football for the SDGs. So I'm sure you're wondering, what's football and the SDGs? How did they even come in contact? But if you think about it, there's so many SDGs aligned here. So they have a large following of young women that are playing football. So that's gender equality just somewhere there. They're partnering with different organizations, the UN, to work with young people and also to just get them excited for change. They're also very big on climate education. So one of the requirements for you to get into the football academy is to go through a climate education period and some tree planting. And then finally, there's the same work on economic growth, because these are young people that you're harnessing their creativity and their innate potential to then lead change, either through the teams that they're building in, or they can actually pivot from that into being climate activists because they already have that training. So I think that's the most exciting one so far for me, because it's so creative.
I mean, it's so exciting. So now let's imagine Ebuka loves to play football, and then we just register Ebuka and say, you know what, bring your football energy into driving a sustainable Africa for us. Amazing, fantastic work. So maybe my other question is, we made progress. Like, I just needed us to backtrack to account for some of the progress that we've made so far. But what are the challenges in Africa stopping us from achieving the SDGs? Because if there were no challenges, by now we'll all be raising our hands in the air and say, oh yeah, we done. But because we have these challenges, maybe that's why we're not there yet. So what are some of the challenges, and how do you think that as young people, we can work towards ensuring that these challenges become minimal or that they completely eliminated? So I'll let Ebuka go first.
All right. I mean, the first challenge is the human resource we have. 75% of the continent is filled with young people between 15 to 35. That's the biggest challenge. And the biggest challenge is that we are not actually harnessing these people. Africa is filled with mineral resources and fantastic, great arable lands. But the most valuable resource we have is actually the human resource. 75% of our people are young people. There's no other continent in the world that has such, ratio of young people. And I think that's the biggest challenge we have. And what we do at Youth Service, we don't just, like she was saying, whereby we resource these young people. We don't just give them, micro grants. We also want to educate these young people. Because one of the big issues about the SDGs is that sometimes it can look like a very, very well thought out plan, well thought out public relations campaign, but people have no idea
what the SDGs
are. So the biggest issue is that educating these people, educating these young people. Another very, very big challenge we have across this, the spectrum of youth is collaboration. Whenever someone asks me, what's your favorite SDG? And they expect me to say, SDG 1 or SDG 4 or even SDG 13, which is like, climate change. And I always say, no. The most important SDG for me is SDG 17.
Partnership for the goal.
Partnership and collaboration. So, I mean, we can do all what we want to do. Nigeria can do what they want to do. Kenya can do what they want to do. But if we're not coming together as a village, like I say in Africa, we have to come together as a village, to achieve what we want to achieve. And it's a very big issue. We need to collaborate alongside different lines. We need to come together as a continent. We need to come together as individuals. We must begin to break the invisible boundary lines that we have to work together to say, how can we combat climate change? How can we reduce inequality? How can we reduce poverty? Because at the end of the day, if we can do these three major things, which is reducing poverty, reducing inequality, and combating climate change, we've actually achieved like 75% of the SDGs. And there's no way we can. The biggest challenge is collaboration and education of the youth. So yeah.
Thank you. So I hear you say you mentioned invisible boundaries. So Katherine, I actually want us to now even break down what these invisible boundaries are, as they cause challenges, and how we can actually now get into those other sides of the boundaries where we are not able to see in terms of institutions, organizations, government agencies. How do we bring them on our side, and how do we empower them to empower us to bridge this gap that we are currently facing with achieving the SDGs?
All right, I think I'll try to take a crack at that. So for me, it most likely would be regional integration, the fact that we're doing things in silos rather than complementing the work that we do. So I want to see more complementing of the work that we do rather than competition, because it feels like it's a race now. So we're doing this, or what are they doing when it should be, or what are they doing, how can we learn from it, and how can we work together? And I think that one very big thing that will support the actualization of the SDGs will be having definitive policies in place. See what I said about Kenya and the plan to have a 30% recover by 2050. That started as a 10% that achieved an 8.83%, and now they moved on to 30% recover, and the target is to plant 15 billion trees. And they just haven't made that policy. Yes, they have now put in place a fund to make sure it happens.
So that's in terms of resourcing.
Exactly. So there's a tree growing fund and campaign that if you ask the youngest person or the nearest young person in Kenya across all 47 counties and say, what do you want to do as a project? The first reaction is, I want to plant trees, because they know that there's a fund for that. They know trees are subsidized, and they know that they're trying to achieve a goal. So it's not a pride and joy for them. If we do not have definitive policies in place, and we're just saying, we want to achieve this and achieve that and achieve that, I don't have policies and programs and campaigns that enforce them, like the Youth Services, it's a campaign that's saying, the SDGs are important, you have to achieve it, then we're dead in the water. There's a report that says that if there are no definitive policies to achieve the SDGs by 2030, then we have a total of almost like 492 million people thrown into poverty by 2030. And it gets worse and adds an increased 350 million people.
That's a lot. You can imagine a world with that number of people in poverty.
Imagine that.
Very unsafe. Really very unsafe. You don't even want to imagine what that would do to our economy. No, I don't. Let's imagine it.
I mean, it's a journey. So it's 492 people by 2030 and 350 people to join them by 2050.
Wow.
There's a waiting list of poverty.
There's a waiting list of poverty if there are no policies set in place.
I mean, stepping on what you said, I think it's also very important that one of the key challenges is what we are trying to solve in Leap Africa and also at the Youth Service, which is financing the SDGs.
Yeah, yes.
It's such a critical issue. Because one thing we realized is that there are lots of vibrant young Africans who are very passionate. They want to solve all the problems. They want to plant all the trees. They want to stop this. But you see, we've received hundreds and hundreds of proposals, like yourself and I. And the truth is, every year we receive close to 1,000 proposals. And we cannot fund everybody. So like one of the big issues we are having currently in Africa is we need more resources. Specifically financial resources. We need African governments. We need,
private sector
individuals to actually dedicate a lump sum of money. We talk about CSR a lot of times, and we must begin to redefine what we talk when we say CSR. We must begin to say things like, your CSR money, can you begin to use it to invest in the SDGs, in the implementation of the SDGs? Because if we don't do that, we will keep on, telling the stories to ourselves. Oh, we could have done this. We can do that.
We will do that.
We will do that. And at the bottom of it all, finances, money, it will help us, achieve what we're trying to do.
And let me just blow your mind for a little bit. When we think about financing for the SDGs, I think we always say we need a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it has been said that we need up to 600 billion per year for the SDGs before 2030. So that's 600 billion times 7.5 years. So that's looking at
$600 billion, $600 billion
dollars. Obviously dollars, not CFAs or patches. Obviously dollars, $600 billion every year.
Yeah.
Just think about that. And that means that SDG 17 is coming back again. We need to come together. What are the targets? What are the goals? How much is needed? And how does each party contribute to that?
Okay, so Ebuka literally just took us to the next conversation I had wanted us to have, because I know that a lot of people out there might be saying, oh, I have a project, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I'm not able to do it. And we know that you could literally be asking us this question now and say, so I have a project, how do I go about it? I wanted to give it back to Katherine and Ebuka to help you put some clarity to why you may not have gotten funding for your project. And let's address the people who are sending us messages and saying, oh, I registered a project, I didn't get funding for this project, I'm not happy about that.
Okay, I'll start by saying I salute your courage, I salute your energy to even go ahead to apply for a grant, and I think well done. You are just one step closer to achieving your dream. And people talk about how big the SDGs are, and I tend to say no, let's make it small. Let's we tend to globalize it, but I say okay, let's bring it home. What do you want to do? You want to solve climate change, but you want to do a massive awareness campaign while the gutter, the drainage in your community is clogged. I mean, you don't need money to do that. You just need to call your friends, your family members, your brothers, your sisters. Oh, let's go clear the drainage. Like I like to quote John F. Kennedy when he says, do not ask what America will do for you. Rather ask yourself, what will I do for America? And this is a call for all African youths. I know that thousands of you might have applied to get a SDG sub-grant, but you didn't get it. But the truth is, I will ask you the same question. Do not ask what Youth Service or what Africa can do for you. Ask yourself,
what can I do for Africa?
Because the legacy we leave behind might not be the stories or the history that we tell. The legacy you leave behind might just be a clean drainage. It might be painting a school. It might be gathering your books from your secondary school days together with your friends, doing a book drive and giving it back to a local secondary school in Kigali or local secondary school somewhere in Legon or in Accra. So the simplicity, we must begin to talk about the simplicity of the SDGs. That every single person playing their part, because it's the drops and little tiny drops of water that actually makes the ocean. So, I mean, let me just say everything. So, let me to catch it.
So, please say everything. I think Ioka has said first thing, salute, well done for even stepping out of your comfort zone and saying, I want to do this. But I will also say, take a deep breath and step back from your keypad. Yeah. We're for you. We're here for you as drivers of the Youth Day of Service. And Ioka has said it all. It doesn't have to be a 3-year campaign to build 5 schools in East Africa. You know, it will literally be the problem in your community that has upset people for the past few months, past few years, things that you see on your way home every day that you're angry about and you're thinking, how can I sort this out? And one thing that we do very interestingly on the Youth Day of Service is that resources for us comes in different ways. First, we're connecting into a group of volunteers. These are persons that you haven't had before in your communities, people that you did not know, and people that are also as passionate as you that will support you in your goal. That's one. We have toolkits that, you know, help you understand, what are the SDGs? How do I manage a project? How do I manage my volunteers when I have them on board? And when I do have finances, how do I manage them? And third, obviously, is the subgrant that we're all eager to have. But even in getting that subgrant, there are ways that you have to position yourself. Many times through the applications that we've gotten, we've seen that a lot of people do not even understand the problem that you're trying to solve. So, for example, you've decided that you need more trees in your community and you've gone ahead to plant trees. And we're asking you, how do you plan to sustain the trees after they've been planted? And they were saying, water them for a few days. But no, it's not just about that. You have to think about the continuity of that project.
Yeah.
The people in your community, are they sold in on the fact that you want to plant trees?
Do they understand where you're planting trees?
Do they understand where the trees are being planted?
Or you just want to tick a box?
Do you understand? And would they support you to maintain it as the years go by? Are you going to visit the trees from time to time to check how they're doing? What are the trees going to do? What kind of trees do you want to plant?
Would they even use it as firewood after a while?
Exactly.
So these are the things you need to actually be sure would happen.
Things that you need to ask. So sometimes you have grand ideas. We see them, we understand it, but we really want to understand what makes you tick, why you're solving that problem.
Sustainability is key.
Yeah, sustainability is key because when you think about the sustainable, we're forgetting the sustainable development goals.
The interesting thing is we don't just do this because we want to be the one-off, but we want to do it to ensure that it stays over a period of time and it continues to manifest.
To serve the people that come after you.
Exactly. So, I mean, it will brings me to an interesting thing that happened. So, I mean, I did want to make a reservation for a beach, and then the notification I got is that, the ocean tide are so high and you can't come in. And for 1 minute, I was like, oh my God. So sooner, summer is here and we're supposed to be on the beach and we can't go there because it's not safe. And it got me thinking, you know what, we really need to do something because it will become stories for our children if we're not able to do this. So you'll be telling your child, once upon a time I used to go to the beach, and the child is like, what's a beach, mom? You don't want to have that for your child, right? You really don't want to experience it. That's why we're calling on you to come do this together. So maybe to wrap up the conversation nicely will be, let's talk about this project in 2023 that we had seen that when we saw it, we were like, go, do it. You've got this. So what's the one project that when you saw, you were completely sold out and you really liked the idea and you couldn't just stop smiling when you saw that project?
Okay. I'm thinking. I think that for me, it would definitely be the rally that we just did in Nairobi.
Fantastic.
So for the most part, the Youth Day of Service has been pretty virtual. So we're engaging young people across Africa, but we haven't even met them yet. And this was an opportunity for us to understand context in East Africa, in Nairobi, Kenya, where we did the rally. How do people even receive information? Are they warm towards understanding what the SDGs are? And then we took to the streets. For me, it was the first time, just going out in the streets and then trying to rile up young people to talk about change and the SDGs. And at first, it started very cool. Everyone was, SDGs. And then I was like, you know what? I'm passionate about this. And people need to know why I'm passionate about this. And so I just started making up chants as we went, with the local young people supporting me. And, that just gave me a burst of energy.
If you haven't seen the video, you can check on our Instagram channel.
You can check and see all my veins coming out.
All of the Youthful. These are the things we do for things we are passionate about. Don't blame us.
I'll let Ioka go first. But for me, it was just really seeing the energy of young people that I never met before and being united by a common goal, which is to call more attention to the SDGs, and also just to come out en masse to plant trees and add to the goals of having 15 billion trees by 2050. Just to see that energy, that drive to be a part of the work that the Kenyan government is trying to do. Oh, that was amazing for me.
I think it was amazing for me as well.
I think for me, I would go to two extremes in Africa, which is north and south. I won't say they're my favorite project, but the project that stand out for me. The one of Ikram, she's a young lady in Morocco, probably one of our first ever projects in Morocco. She's doing a 3-day or about a 1-week project whereby you're going to be planting trees, you're going to be educating young Moroccan boys and girls on the importance of climate change, recycling. So to me, it's something that anybody could have done. But what makes it very exciting is that it's coming from a country that we've never had a project in before.
And it's uniting youth across 12 provinces in Morocco.
12 provinces in Morocco. So it's a big project that we've never seen in Morocco, and it's a really big one. And then I think that got me excited was the project in South Africa on 23rd of August.
Curate
with the people don't understand the importance. How the what's the word? Give me a word.
Period poverty.
Yeah, people don't know. I know it's period poverty, but people don't understand how important it is and how just to get a pad is such an expensive thing. For us here in Lagos or
for you
island,
especially.
No. It feels like it's just a normal thing, but to some people, young women in the communities and the villages, it's a luxury.
Yeah,
they end up using things that they shouldn't be using, and it's a sad thing. It's an entrance to diseases and lifetime of taking medications and
prevention,
stuff like that.
surviving on medication.
Exactly. I mean, like they say, prevention is better than cure. So it stands out to me that this young lady curate in South Africa is not just giving like pads and stuff. She's also educating these girls on sexual education. So I think it's super important.
And sustainable materials for the pads that she gives.
Pads also, so
reusable pads.
Yeah.
So those are the two projects that for me this year that stood out a lot. The project in Morocco and the project in South Africa.
I think I have one more actually. Yeah. Shout out to World Learning Algeria. They have come
Shout
on board.
out to World Learning Algeria.
So they have come on board twice now. And they're running 1-week campaigns for the youth in Algeria at no cost. So they're just taking up the youth day of service. They're passionate about it. So they have STEM activities, their biodiversity walks, their street cleanups. It's a whole week from the 12th to the 18th. Of August, they have a whole week of a campaign with young people in Algeria, and it's just really nice to see. And every year they have amazing stories, amazing creatives, and amazing visuals. And you can see young people across different ages, across different life stages, getting engaged on the Youth Day of Service. And I think that's one project that will always stay in mind. I'm always excited for because he usually would kick off the Youth Day of Service for us in Algeria.
Thank you so very much. I mean, you've heard it all. There's nothing else I can tell you than to just let you see how excited I am that young people in Africa are actually really championing change and driving change in so many communities in Africa. I know you keep hearing us talk about the Youth Day of Service, but I want to ask you, do you know what organization champions the Youth Day of Service? So I don't know what your answer is, but I'm hoping that you got it right. I'm really hoping that you got it right. But let me take you back to the people so they can tell you what organization champions the Youth Day of Service, why they are doing this, and what is in it for us. So, hi, Katherine.
All right. So Leap Africa. Remember the name, Leap Africa, because we are leaping beyond bounds. And I'm sure that you've heard about Leap Africa if you're in Africa. And if you're outside Africa, because we do great work that transcends the globe and, just really shifts away from Africa. And what we are is a youth development organization that is simply committed to raising leaders that will transform Africa. Raising ethical leaders that are different from the norm that you're used to, because we understand that for Africa to thrive, it needs good leaders, and we're raising leaders across different life stages. For us, leadership is not about age or position. It's about just, having that intention to create positive impact in your community. And that's what Leap Africa does. And we recognize that our work with young people has to do with their transition. So we have about 4 key areas with an additional one, which sort of, makes it the 4 make sense. So we're helping young people transition in areas like employment, entrepreneurship, active citizenship, access to health and healthy behaviors. And for us, really, all of that transcends into the fact that young people, after they've transitioned effectively through those areas, they're able to now have an upward social mobility in the work that they do. And for us, we have two big pillars that our work is based on. We like to call it two big bets, actually. One is to make secondary education work, and the other is to raise talents that will achieve the SDGs. And I'm sure that you're hearing SDGs again. So you know that the Youth of Service is very linked to that pillar. So if you heard me right, you know that we're working young people from 13 to 35 and helping them understand what it means to transition into the next phase of their life, and also make sure that while they're doing that, we're raising leaders that are conscious first about self. Because for us to be leaders of organizations, teams, you have to be masters of self. So for us, really understanding what you are as a person, and then moving, transitioning from that to then learning how to engage in your community, how to lead teams if you have small teams in schools and universities, and then becoming leaders of organizations, leaders of institutions, and then hopefully leaders of across Africa. So that's really in a nutshell who Leap Africa is, and we're 21 years strong. So
21 shout out.
So we have been doing this for a long time, and we're utterly, completely devoted to the personal and leadership development journey of young people across Africa.
Thank you very much, Katherine. So I'll let Ioka wrap up our conversations for us by telling us what organizations. No pressure, Ioka. You can do this. I trust you. I mean, you're doing your service, so you can do anything. Alright, so I'll let Ioka wrap up our conversations for us by telling us what Leap Africa is doing to achieve the SDGs, aside from the Youth of Service, and how you out there and your organization can partner with us to achieve the SDG before 2030. It is still very possible. I believe it. Katherine believes it, and Ioka believes it.
Thank you very much. So we're involved in a lot of initiatives, but I will just try and summarize it to a few things that I think are focused on the SDGs. I think the most important thing, aside from the Youth of Service that we do, that is raising talent for the SDGs, is what we call our social entrepreneurship programs, our SCP programs, which involves the Social Innovators Program, sponsored by Union Bank, the Sahara Impact Fund, sponsored by Sahara Foundation, and Youth Enterprise Fund, which we just recently got, sponsored by the International Youth Fund. And all of these is focused on raising young African entrepreneurs, young African innovators who are actually making impact through enterprise, making an impact in their community, making an impact in their country. Currently, we have entrepreneurs in more than 14 different African countries. And exactly, I mean, and tying it back to the SDGs, all of these entrepreneurs are doing something related to the SDGs. They're not just doing business for businesses.
Sustainable businesses. They're
doing social impact cases, So that's really one of the key things that we do. And we want to reach more countries. We want to reach more entrepreneurs.
Definitely.
Because we believe entrepreneurship is really one of the backbones of a sustainable environment, of a sustainable Africa. We want to reach more people. We want to train more African entrepreneurs, more African social entrepreneurs. So we need to support, financial support, resources support, and any way you can support us to reach more African social entrepreneurs. Yeah.
So we've been talking about the SDG 17, which is Partnership for the Goal, and so far, so many organizations have actually gotten it right by coming with us and partnering with us
to all our partners.
The SDG. So before we wrap this up nicely, I'd like us to take turns to give a shout out to our partners. So I'll let Katherine go first. Give a shout out to anybody that comes to your head. Just go ahead. Shout out to
immediately Dow. Thank you so much, Dow. So Dow Chemicals has come on board as key resource partner for 2 years strong now. And they have been amazing. They're private sector partners that are big on curbing plastic pollution. They're big on curbing harmful waste practices, and they're also big on ensuring sustainable environments. And they've come on board to sponsor the Youth of Service, and through their help, we've been able to reach so many young people, a cumulative of about almost now. Okay, so I'll count last year because we have a definite number on that one. 6,464 young people, and also resourced about 30 plus organizations across Africa to then, contribute to achieving the sustainable development goals on the continent. So shout out to Dow. Shout out to other implementing partners that we've had across Africa, BS Sectoral Group, Kids Beach Garden, Reswy.
World Learning.
Shout out to World Learning Algeria. Shout out to Akakoro Kenya. Shout out to Lagos Food Bank. Shout out to so many people. Let Ioka continue, but shout out to everyone that has come to support the Youth Day of Service for the past 3 years. It has been an amazing ride, and I just love to see all of you across Africa, having your creative sides to the Youth Day of Service and making sure that we have creative, totally innovative projects. Oh, shout out to Echo Willow Ghana.
True.
All right.
So, Katherine has mentioned all the big players, and I want to say a very big thank you to all our partners from Dow and everybody. I want to use the opportunity to say a very, very big thank you to the young boy and the young girl from Lusaka, from Nairobi, from Accra, from Algiers, from Morocco, Casablanca, Lesotho, Cape Town, Lagos, Nigeria, Dakar, Senegal, wherever you are, Khartoum, Sudan, everywhere you are. I want to say a very big thank you to you, to all our project leads, to all our volunteers. You are phenomenal. You are phenomenal. And we cannot do the Youth Day of Service without you. So thank you so much.
You're in the Youth Day of Service.
You are
the you in the Youthful and Useful.
Exactly.
And to the you in the Youthful and Useful, big shout out to you. Thank you so very much for partnering with us this year to achieve our goal for the Youth Day of Service campaign 2023. We couldn't have done this without you, and for that, a big shout out to you. Well done. Thank you very much for joining us. As you know, sustainable cities do not just end in August. We're done with the Youth Day of Service campaign, but this is our charge to you to continue to drive projects, continue to implement changes in your communities in tiny bits as you can, and in big ways as you can as well, to ensure that we have sustainable cities and sustainable environment, because life transcends beyond 2030, and we don't just want to end in 2030. So partner with us and partner with other young people in your organization. Thank you for listening to us, and thank you for joining us today on another episode of the Youthful and Useful podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And of course, we'll see you some other time. And from now, it is bye. Youthful and Useful.